parachutists were clearly part of that, and it is, and I think he's already flicked it onto its edge, arriving in his normal configuration, and you are going to be quite, I think, not overwhelmed, but you'll be quite amazed at the efforts he can do. So here he is, the smoke is on, and that's the classic call, of course. Please welcome Richard Goodwin in J-Pit, the muscle biplane. Stunning way to arrive at an air show, isn't it? It's a very impressive feature completely, and you can see it is just made for action, isn't it? And Richard Goodwin's one of those guys, he's got just extreme capability and real stamina as well, and an intensity of performance that he just will throw in any maneuvers rather than fly in a straight line. Of course, it doesn't come without an awful lot of preparation and training, and that is the importance of this sort of flying. It's the skill of the pilot, and of course the definition. There he is, upside down, and we'll talk a little bit more about how these various G's affect you. You know, you've heard the Typhoon guys talking about putting 9G. Well, it's an awful lot of action. Here now, tumbling and rolling the aircraft as he gains a bit of height. And energy management is something that's also critical. That's all about making use, really, of the height and speed that you have in the aircraft. Now, this level inverted turn is pretty tricky, and he's got to keep that negative G on for quite some while before then pulling out. As I said, rarely going in a straight line. So Curtis Pitt's the brainchild behind this fleet of aircraft, and my word, have they got a history of excellence right across the world. A really outstanding machine. Developed pretty much around about 44, 45, just straight at the end of the war, and of course then going into refining the prototype's ability to perform, which it does extremely well. Several of the aircraft he built had pictures of skunk on them, and they were called stinkers in those days, and Betty Skelton was a lady who made this aircraft famous across the States, and she called her aircraft a little stinker. And I thought also a great achievement that it was a lady that actually added notable fame to the early development of aerobatics with this particular aircraft. Huge legacy of international teams, very popular in Britain in the 70s, but also with the national aerobatic team in the United States, who won the World Championships for these back in 1972. But all the various teams that we had, under the likes of Brian Lacombe and the Rothmans and everything, really outstanding performers. So Richard ties together throughout the courses, as you can see, multiple maneuvers every second of his flying. And this particular aircraft, his follow-on aircraft from G-Whiz, built over a 4-year period, incorporating all the modifications of the famous Union Jack-coloured aircraft, but with one major difference, which is in the wing design. It's unique, it's got even larger ailerons on it and more wing area, giving it an outstanding roll rate and also better low-speed handling. He was climbing up there and just hanging on the residual power of the propeller there before literally just letting it sink and flop back. Now using the energy from that, well, he's actually still holding there. It hasn't quite gone gyroscopic yet, but literally that is just an amazing achievement, isn't it? Is it a helicopter? Is it a plane? No, it's just Richard Goodwin flying his Pitt Special. Really, really superb airmanship indeed. Fantastic. Then he lets it go, having drifted down a little way there. Now the muscle biplanes, as they're referred to, are specially modified to provide this ultimate aerobatic aerial entertainment. It isn't your average regular pit special, of course, and you can't just buy this off the shelf. It's had an extensive modification program, and that allows Rich to perform this extraordinary brand of his own personal aerobatics. You can hear the roar of that engine. At the heart of the manoeuvres, of course, the power of this 8.5 litre 6-cylinder Lycoming engine, equipped with all the extras and a massive smoke system. And thinking of the environment, have no fears. The majority of smoke used at air shows now is all environmentally friendly stuff. It's a form of a product called Ondina, which is essentially a baby oil. So we mentioned G. Right now you're all walking around or sitting at 1G. That's just your normal body weight. If we were to exert a lot of pressure on it, either by accelerating you into the sky very fast or putting a load on your head and pushing down, we can increase your body weight by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. It goes on, of course. And that's what we're doing in this particular aircraft. And in most aerobatic performances, to get a fast jet around a corner, for example, you've got to pull G, otherwise you just use up most of the sky. So when you're pulling 4G positively, so he's not here, he's upside down at the moment, but he'll soon put a twist in and then pull up. That is when we reverse the blood flow. So there he's pushing against himself at negative G, and all the blood is rushing to his head. A very uncomfortable maneuver that you can't really prepare too much for other than train. But now putting a bit of positive G as he pulls out of this, his body weight will increase. There we go, 2, 3, 4, but doing a side slip at the same time as he's climbing and rolling as well to boot. So that's a clever bit of flying from Richard there. So positive G you can train for using various maneuvers and exercises around the torso of your body to stop the blood draining down into your legs. But much beyond 6G, very, very difficult without some sort of protection system, which of course all modern RAF jets are in. Now, here he is preparing for his tower of power. He's just using a bit of time now to cool the engine down a little bit and also prepare himself for the next series of maneuvers. There's a bit of a sort of pause check. They need to do this to get all the parameters right, of course checking the performance of the engine as well. Before then, here he is using all the energy that he's got available from the speed and also the dive down. He'll now pull up into another series of rolling, tumbling maneuvers. And that is his tower of power. And it keeps going up and up as he rolls and rolls. Now using that power of the prop, going gyroscopic. Just literally, they say, hanging onto the prop, and that is what he's doing. And let it slip back now through his own smoke system, and you'll see him emerge out of the bottom of that smoke very shortly. There he is. Real high achiever in the aerobatic genre, and a really committed engineer as well. It's a bit like putting yourself into a washing machine and selecting fast spin. All sorts of other little changes have been made to this aircraft as well. The original gear removed and the engine mounts modified to take titanium sprung gear legs and a new cowling around the engine which reduces the weight and also the drag profile of the aircraft. Now when he's flying on its edge, you can actually use the fuselage, of course, to give yourself some lift as well, which is quite handy. But he's also modified the rudder, designing just to look better, more powerful as well, gives him what we call yaw control. And also the wings that I mentioned earlier on, giving that amazing roll rate. So combining a lot of high energy gyroscopic maneuvers here, and I think you'll agree, a superbly dynamic routine, and the sky just clearing perfectly to see the shapes. All given lots of different names, roulards and longevacs and all sorts. I mean, you'll hear more of this during the course of the day, and particularly when the blades do their outstanding performance as well towards the tail end of the afternoon. So you've seen it hover like a Harrier. You've seen the hammerheads, you've seen the Tower of Power, and you've seen a good number of torque rolls as well. He'll be positioning shortly to his signature farewell. And when he does that, he'll be looking out through the top of the canopy at you, boys and girls. So do give him a big wave when he does that, won't you? He just loves performing around the airshow circuit. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, wherever you got hats, coats, umbrellas, ice creams, give Richard Goodwin a fantastic Southport wave as he completes his airshow to open up properly this afternoon. There you see, just putting a boot in the rudder left and right as well. And just puffing a bit of smoke on and off, but actually he's adding a little bit extra. Now he normally finishes off with that manoeuvre, but it's just great. Here we go, freewheeling again. And once again, into the hover. Quite extraordinary manoeuvre. Hanging on to the prop. Like a big bumblebee, isn't it? That's incredible. The hover is incredible. And now he's decided that's the end. So I think you're just using that bang on time. We're on schedule, which is really, really good news.